a better world. But after nearly 30 years of dimension hopping, I came upon a parallel Earth almost identical to our own. There was at least one crucial difference. On this Earth, I was never pushed into the portal by Stan. On this Earth, my brother listened to me and took Journal 1 away from Gravity Falls. On this Earth, I reunited with Fiddleford, and together we created a dimensional vortex neutralizer that allowed us to use the portal without any risk of a connection to Bill's nightmare realm. By the time I visited this parallel Earth, my parallel self was a celebrated star of the scientific community, and my small cabin in Gravity Falls had become the sprawling International Institute of Oddology. Like a moth to a flame, I was drawn toward the Institute. Luckily for this particular Earth, I ran into Parallel Fiddleford before encountering my parallel self. He quickly recognized that I was not his Stanford Pines and had me detained by campus security. I put up quite a fight, but when I finally calmed down, Parallel Fiddleford explained why he was holding me captive. A few years back, he had been leading a portal expedition to a particularly dangerous dimension when one of the security officers ran into his parallel self. As soon as they touched hands, the entire dimension began to warp and fizz with static. Fiddleford and the rest of his team escaped back to their own dimension. But that officer was never heard from again. In fact, that whole dimension has ceased to exist. As much as I might have wanted to revel in my parallel self's success, it was clear that there was literally no place for me in this dimension. Even if I could have stayed there for the rest of my days, my own conscience would not have allowed it. I still held on to the vow I had made close to 30 years earlier to destroy Bill Cipher. When I mentioned my vendetta to Parallel Fiddleford, his knee began to bounce with agitation and excitement, the same as my own Fiddleford's knee. Although his dimension was safe from Bill, he understood the threat Cipher posed to the wider multiverse. He was anxious to help in any way he could. I showed him my unfinished quantum destabilizer, a weapon I was designing to blast Bill into non-existence. The problem was the power source. In all my travels since leaving Jesselbrom, I had never come across an element that had both the necessary power and the required stability. Parallel Fiddleford suggested an element that he had discovered in the paradox dimension. It was inert when visible, but highly radioactive when hidden. He called it, "Now you see it, now you don't-ium." A unique flair for language was something else he had in common with my Fiddleford. After just a few days of tinkering and minor adjustments to my blaster's design, the quantum destabilizer was finally finished. I was ready to face Bill.